Hey everyone, it's Guru Hamid here for Loudwire, and it is Wikipedia Fact or Fiction time, the Walking Papers edition, with Jeff Angell and Duff McKagan. And Duff has never even seen his Wikipedia page before.
That's true.
You told me that earlier, yeah, so this will be revealing, absolutely. Alright, so let's start with you, Duff. According to Wikipedia today, you've been called Duff since childhood.
Yes.
To which you refer to as an Irish thing.
I guess I probably have referred to it as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything in particular, like how did you get that nickname? Maybe.
It's quick.
Okay.
Michael was a very popular boy's name in the '60s, and on our street there was a few Michaels, and we were all like the same. We were 1 and 2. And I think the moms of the neighborhood saw that was going to be a problem back in the late 60s. There was no fences. Kids would go out until the sun came down and moms would call for them, right?
Okay.
And if one mom called for Michael, probably 3 boys would come. So there was our next door neighbors, the Harveys, their grandfather, this Irish grandfather. He gave us all these nicknames. And I got Duff.
All right. And it also says that although you were an honors student, you dropped out of Roosevelt High School in the 10th grade, but you were later awarded with an honorary diploma from the school in 2012.
Yeah, last year.
That's all
That
right?
is correct. Yeah.
Good job. All right, 2 for 2 right now. Jeff, when you were a member of the band Post-Stardom Depression, you actually toured with Queens of the Stone Age and Dee Dee Ramone.
True.
Wow. Do you have any good? You've got to have some good Dee Dee Ramone stories.
Sometimes I screw my accent up, but he'd be like, Dee Dee Ramone was very nice to Post-Stardom Depression, and Dee Dee Ramone, he would. One time we were like all rowdy and had a hotel room, and there was a club that was connected to the hotel. It was great, and Dee Dee would call something like, "Hey guys, I know you're having a good time over there, but if you guys could keep it down, I'd really appreciate it, man. We got a long drive tomorrow." And he also, another time, he said, "All right, Jeff, you guys got some great songs, man, but if these producers, they ever try to put a fucking chord in there, don't fucking let them. They just want some of the publishing, man." Those are kind of Dee Dee Ramone. That's how he talked to you.
Dee Dee Ramonisms.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
That's kind of radical.
It is. It is. I got a bunch of pictures of us taking with him and stuff. He was really, he was a cool guy. The crowd, however, touring with Dee Dee Ramone, there was a lot of punk rockers that were trying to relive their glory days, and maybe they didn't have the tolerance for alcohol that they used to when they were Ramones fans. So they pulled out their leather jacket out of the closet after 15 years and decided
Yeah.
And they're like, I could still drink a 12-pack, and they couldn't. A lot of drunk people passed out against the walls and stuff.
Very good.
It was quite a fun time.
All right, Duff. Wikipedia says you were a member of a total of 31 bands while living in Seattle.
I tallied them up. Like when I would tell my stories of my punk rock bands to like Flash, and he said, finally he was like, this is like 1985 or 6. He's like, well, how many bands were you in? And I started like writing down the names of the bands. Sometimes it was only one gig. I was in a band called Cleavage, right? And it was like
that's a great name.
And we had a punk rock house called Cleveland. Like every punk rock house had a name back in the day. Like there was the Mad House, there was the Boot Boy House. There's a band called the Boot Boys. They're like a skinhead skinhead band. You know, this is like 1981. Yeah, there were those bands like the skinhead, like Peace.
They just like bomber jackets.
Hair gets in the way. Yeah. But we had Cleveland, and that was. But I think Cleavage probably only played 2 gigs. I was in the Fastbacks. I was the first drummer for the Seattle band, the Fastbacks. They became sort of an institution. Played drums in the Farts, and then I moved to. Yeah. And then moved to rhythm guitar, and we turned it into 10 Minute Warning, which is another band that Jack and Dino produced. But just a bunch of little ideas of bands that we'd play a gig. We had been kind of all on the rocks. We were like Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers too.
Nice.
And we'd drink cocktails. and play gigs, and we thought we were pretty grown up. We were like 17.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But yeah, kind of did some little punk rock tours. Played up in Canada a lot. But, I grew up in a really
DOA
great.
up there.
Yeah, stayed at the DOA
Yes.
house all the time, which had a name. It was called the
DOA.
No, yeah, was it called
The DOA
house? It wasn't called that, but it could have been. But yeah, a lot of punk rock bands and a lot of punk rock ideas.
All right, Jeff, you played with a band that was then unnamed at these shows called the Missionary Position, but people kept on thinking that was your band's name, so you said, all right, screw it, let's just call our band Missionary Position.
Yeah, we did all the first couple shows that we did. We played this lounge every Thursday for like 9 months. I started playing by myself, and then I brought Ben down that plays keyboards and walking papers, and we would do some songs together, and then we'd have different. We actually had Jeff Redding played with us one time from your band, Loaded, and jammed with us. We had different drummers, and sometimes different Seattle people would come and join us. And so, who was it? It was Candlebox was doing a tour, and the singer for Candlebox was in there, and I was like, let's see if this guy can hold it on his own. So I was like, why don't you come on up? And I gave him the guitar, and he played some songs, and he really enjoyed it, getting to play some songs. Apparently he doesn't do that very often, so he had a good time, and so he invited us out to do some shows with him, and we were doing off shows, and we had all sorts of names, kind of like your punk rock bands. We call it Ultra Thin and the Near Death Experience. We'd call it the Boredom Killing Business, or we'd call it the Blue Collar. We just make up a different name for every show, but everybody always called us. The night was, Thursday night was like the Missionary Position, where it was like just the funny lounge name, and so then we kind of just couldn't get away from it, unfortunately.
I didn't know.
You don't like the band name?
Well, it is memorable, but
That's true.
I bet you get a lot of dorky questions with that name. Okay, you get a lot of
Why
jerks
not
in the crowd going,
Doggy
hey,
Style?
that's what you should have.
Yeah, that's already a band. You couldn't use Doggy Style.
Missionary Position, isn't that kind of boring?
Yeah.
Well, if you're not doing it right, hey.
Right.
Well done.
Boredom Killing Business. That's a good name.
I liked Ultra Thin.
Ultra Thin.
Ultra
That's a
Thin
good
and the
one.
Near Death Experience. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Very good. Duff, you claim in your autobiography that the famous brand of Duff beer in The Simpsons was named for you, but since then the Simpsons creator Matt Groening has claimed that it was an absurd conclusion to come to.
Oh, really? I didn't know he said that.
Yeah, he
Let's
says that
start
it was
a Twitter war.
But he said it was absurd.
Oh. Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's what it says.
Well, I think that's absurd. That you said that's absurd. Yeah. But I thought it was a foregone conclusion. Like, I didn't know that when I wrote that in my book it was going to be, like, one of the, like, big things. But, yeah, in, like, I don't know what year it was, 88 or something? 80. But there was no adult cartoons then.
Right.
So, I was known as Duff the King of Beers. We did this gig, and it was on MTV. And Axel introduced me as Duff. I had this Budweiser belt. It was like a championship.
At the Ritz.
You ever seen that belt?
I've seen the show you're talking about.
Yeah. And so it's
videotaped it,
Duff the
watched
King
it
of Beers.
1,000
And that became kind of pop. That concert was kind of a big, that kind of broke our band. So I was Duff the King of Beers for a long time. I was like, fuck, thanks. But I had this King of Beers, like, belt thing. And so we got this call to our management office, but, then, like, branding wasn't nobody branded your name or your thing. And it was like a college art project cartoon. They want to call the beer in this cartoon Duff. And it was like, cool. Duff beer.
Right.
So, I don't care.
Matt Groening is a Seattle dude too.
Yeah.
Because they used to do Life is Hell was before The Simpsons, which came out on Fanta is it Fantagraphics?
Fantagraphics,
Comics, which is a
yeah.
comic book store that started and is still
Put out
ran
Danny Bland's new book, In Case We Die.
right out of Georgetown. They are right there, like it's less than 5 minutes from my house, and that's where he got his start.
Yeah.
So it's not that far-fetched, is
Yeah.
it?
So anyhow, so the Simpsons then came out as a cartoon, blew up as a cartoon, and then
on
that-
the Stolman show. What was her name?
Tracy Ullman
Tracy
show.
Ullman.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I didn't follow popular culture at all. Until I got sober in '94, and then things started to become like I started to actually do shit. And like I went to Universal Studios in LA, and they have that Universal Studio walk with all the stars
Yes.
and crap. And there was this store, and it had all this Duff beer T-shirts and beer bottle, like all this. Like, holy shit, this is a thing, isn't it? It was just kind of a passing thing I wrote about. But I thought it was a foregone conclusion. I thought everybody knew that. Like everybody around me kind of knew it, but not everybody out in the, obviously in the rest of the world. So, but that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay up, Groening.
No.
Yeah.
Pay
I'm not
up.
asking for any money. Yeah. I think it was at like a funny point in my book, like. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
would you get the money, or would it be the Irish grandfather from down the street?
That's a good point.
Gave you all,
Yeah,
he gave you the name, right? Well, if he
needs
gave you the name,
royalties.
then it is your name. I
Probably the
suppose.
heirs of that Irish grandfather.
In 1994, you became gravely ill due to acute alcohol-induced pancreatitis, which caused your pancreas to swell to the size of a football
Yes.
and leak digestive enzymes into your body, which caused third-degree burns. Wow. The third-degree burns? How?
You want to die, you really do.
Oof.
Like the pain is so bad. Like I was asking, like just put me out because they give you it's a brutal thing, acute pancreatitis, and there's nothing cute about it.
No.
They call it acute. I'm like, there's nothing cute about this. Yeah, it's brutal. But for me that I needed, some people like can walk into a brick wall once and then go, aha, I'm gonna walk around. It took me 105 times just walking into that brick wall, and that was my last time walking into the brick wall with alcohol for sure.